Am I the jerk for making my roommate's ex contribute towards rent? I, a 27-year-old female, live in an apartment with 3 other women. About 1 month ago, one of my roommates, whom we'll call Anya, a 32-year-old female, moved her ex-girlfriend, whom we'll call Mel, into our apartment without any prior communication. I don't know much about Mel. We met maybe 1.5 years ago with a quick introduction as Anya's girlfriend and kept it brief and cordial if we ran into each other afterward. I started noticing Mel would be over a lot more than usual. I didn't know they had broken up, so I just assumed they were still dating and spent a lot of time at ours. But then it got to a point where Mel would be there on her own. She got a key, had guests over, slowly started bringing her belongings in and storing them in our cabinets, and I heard her on the phone referring to Anya as someone she used to date, and our apartment is where I'm calling home now. My other roommates and I called a meeting to discuss what was actually going on. Anya told us that Mel was having problems at her apartment. Apparently, one of Mel's roommates is a squatter. The cops have been called on Mel more than once there, and there was some sort of physical altercation between the roommates. Mel and the other roommates left but are still on the hook for rent, so their landlord is asking for more than $10,000 in back rent. Anya said that Mel has been living at our apartment since the beginning of last month and plans to be out around October, assuming things work out on her court date in September. My roommates and I said that we would feel more comfortable with her being here if she was contributing to our bills, including rent. Anya pushed back and said that while she'll collect some bills from Mel, she doesn't agree with getting rent money from her because she's in a tough place. According to Anya, since Mel is only staying for a few months and our rent doesn't increase with her being there, it's unlawful for us to have her contribute to rent. My other roommates and I believe that if someone is going to be fully living in our apartment for 1/4 of the year, they should be contributing to the household during that time. We're only asking that she pay a few hundred in rent a month and split the other bills with us 5 ways. Anya is pretty insistent in telling us that we just have to be okay with Mel living at ours rent-free and that Mel will split utilities out of the kindness of her heart. We don't have a super large apartment or much storage space at all, so adding a 5th person to the mix has become a lot. I'm sympathetic towards Mel's situation, but my roommates and I don't actually know Mel and didn't agree to her living here in the first place. My other roommates want to go to the landlord. I'd rather it not come to that, but we're now stuck in a living situation that we didn't agree to and have no say in. I don't want to kick someone when they're down, but am I the asshole for telling my roommate her ex needs to contribute to rent if she's going to be living with us? So your roommate thinks she can let her ex-girlfriend squat in your apartment? Mel hasn't been paying rent at her old place and owes $10 in back rent, but now she's squatting at yours. She's had bad interactions with her old roommates, even involving the cops. You do not want her living in your apartment. It's time to talk to the landlord and get both Mel and Anya kicked out. Am I the jerk for telling my mother I won't buy her a house with my legal settlement money? I told my mother today that no, I will not buy her a house if I am successful at winning my legal case for an injury that has left me chronically ill, disabled, and unable to work for years. For some context, my mother had never been a great parental figure. Reddit will not allow me to say what we endured as children, but just think of every type of the worst things that can happen in childhood, and you will have a good idea. She was also completely unable to show any sort of love or attention. I had a baby very young at 16 years old without help. I tried to live at home after my daughter was born, while still continuing with school. But as a single 16-year-old mother, the only guidance I got from my mother was her pounding on the bedroom wall and screaming, "Shut that baby up!" Anytime my daughter cried, I quickly moved interstate and started my own life. I was determined to be a good mother and provide for my daughter. I got a job in a legal office and, over the years, worked my way up until I was earning in the 6 figures. As a single working mother of 2, I never received any support from my mother or family. Nobody ever babysat my children or helped out financially if I was in a bind. I always have done everything completely on my own. I know never to even bother asking my mother for anything, as the answer has always been no. I went through about 7 years of no contact with my mother before letting her back in, but with strict boundaries. 3 years ago, I got severely ill due to an injury. I have been hospitalized countless times. Every area of my life has been impacted. I am in a wheelchair when I leave the house, cannot work, have no social life, am mostly bedbound, and in chronic pain. This is very likely permanent. We have started the legal process, and just this morning I sent my mother a post showing that the law firm we are engaging just secured a large settlement for someone who is injured in the same way. We have no idea if this person is terminal or paralyzed or how severe they are to have achieved this payout. Nevertheless, it filled me with hope that maybe we could be successful and perhaps in the future, I will not have to stress constantly about not being able to afford all of my never-ending medical fees. Imagine a life where I can have support carers helping me with daily tasks to take some of the load off my husband, where I could afford a new and better wheelchair, where I can opt into promising but very expensive treatment. Mom immediately called me and the first words out of her mouth were, "Well, you're going to buy me a house, aren't you? Keep in mind we do not even own a home yet and are in a lot of debt for medical costs." I just replied with, "No, I'm not." Truthfully, I was in shock at the audacity of this. Instead of thinking about how this could help me after all I have been through, her first thought was how it could help her. I told her I had to go as I could tell she was upset. So, am I the jerk? You are not the jerk, but sharing any financial info with your mom is pure self-sabotage. She is selfish and more concerned about what she can get out of you than your welfare. Your settlement is meant to help with your accommodations and treatments, so keep that information private. So sorry this is happening to you. Hang in there. Am I the jerk for ditching my friends on a hike? I went on a road trip with some friends and planned the entire thing myself. I gave them the ability to give feedback but got very little. There were a few things that I really wanted to do, and the rest was pretty flexible. One thing I really wanted to do was a sunrise hike at a spot near our camp. You need to take a boat to get there, and everyone online said to take the earliest one to make it onto the boat and for the best experience. I struggled to get 2 of the people to get up and ready on time most days. They could have put an alarm on but chose not to. They ruined a few plans and it was frustrating, but again, I was pretty flexible. The night before the hike, I told everyone that this hike at sunrise was something I really wanted to do and would do whether they came or not. I told them the latest I would leave camp and that if they were not ready by then, I would leave. That morning, the 2 of them were still sleeping. To be nice, I woke the 2 up with a 5-minute warning. They then got up slowly but took a long time to get ready. 10 minutes later, I decided to leave them. At that point, they were up but not ready. I told them I was leaving and left with the others who were ready. When we got to the boat, a line was already forming. 20 minutes later, the others showed up. At this time, the line had gotten really long, and we were near the front. The 2 then chose to cut the line, which made it so 2 people who got there before them could not make it onto the boat to join us. At this point, I was absolutely fuming but trying to keep it together. We got off the boat on the other side and started our hike. I have long legs and can be a pretty fast walker. Going into this trip, we knew that could be an issue as one of the girls, one of the late ones, struggles to keep up. She is slower and loves to stop to take pictures a little too much. She always gets upset at me and the others and tells us to walk slower, which is hard for me to change my pace for her constantly. We started the trip saying that we all walk at different speeds, and that we would meet back up at points if we got separated. We started our hike, and not 5 minutes in, she stopped to readjust the stuff in her backpack. We stopped for a few minutes and she was still not done. I was close to losing it, so I walked ahead a bit. Some of the others that were with me joined. We then stopped again to see if they could catch up, but at this point I was not happy, and I told the others that I needed some time to hike by myself and walked off. They all understood, and one came with me because they were also not thrilled. We then had an amazing hike where we were able to do everything we wanted. When heading back, the trail was packed, but we did not find them. Apparently they could not do the whole hike because of one of the girls and turned around. When we finally reunited, the 2 that held us back were angry at me and said that I ditched them. Am I the asshole? You are not to blame. You went above and beyond by even waking them up. You were in the middle of nature, as uncrowded as it gets, and it's unreasonable to expect everyone to stick together the whole time. You planned this trip to enjoy the activities you wanted to do, not to herd cats. If others can't keep up or manage their time, that's their problem. Am I the jerk for yelling at my sister until she started to cry? I am having some mixed feelings about this. I, a 16-year-old male, have a younger sister who is 14 years old. My parents are toxic to me. I do not know why. I do not know if I am some affair baby or a child they adopted and then they got pregnant with my sister afterward. I do not know if they wanted a girl or if I am too gay for them. However, my parents are terrible parents to me. I am positive my parents despise me. They are short-tempered with me and they have no patience for anything I do. If my sister does something wrong, like breaking something or doing her chores badly, I get yelled at. Not her, me. They blame me for her mistakes, and if I make mistakes I get yelled at and punished. They berate me for getting BS and CSK. They call me stupid. They tell me my sister was more intelligent at 2 years old than I ever was. They display her grades on the fridge. They even frame some of them. They will boast about us to other people and then tell me I am an embarrassment when people leave. If I want to do something, it is an automatic no, while they say yes to my sister most of the time. My parents started calling me stupid a few years ago, and my sister copied them. She tells me all the time they are great parents and I should be nicer. She scolds me for complaining about them. She had the nerve to tell me I should be nicer after she broke one of Mom's vases, and Mom yelled at me. She told me Dad was amazing after he pulled the office chair I was sitting on away from the computer and deleted my almost finished homework because he felt like it. I think I called him a jerk, and she acted like I was the worst person ever. My dad's parents are more aware of the way I am treated now, and they try to spend more time with me, and they call Mom and Dad out for it. My sister told me I should defend them. Last week, I was helping a neighbor with some chores. My mom yelled for me to come home, and then she yelled at me because my sister shrunk the laundry. For about 10 solid minutes, she berated me. I got mad and went up to my room. My sister followed me and told me I need to stop getting so mad at Mom and Dad. I told her to go away. She told me how I always act like they are the worst when they are the best. I told her they are the best to her but treat me poorly. She kept berating me and I kept telling her to leave. I ended up losing my temper and I yelled at her that I hate her. I hate Mom and Dad, and I wish I did not know any of them. I told her the happiest day of my life would be when I never have to see them again. I told her she was the worst sister ever, and I hope one day mom and dad treat her the way she treats me. I hope she feels as bad about herself as I do because I hate her so much, and I feel disgusted being around her. My sister cried so hard. I ended up being sent to my grandparents that same day, and I am still here. My parents sent me a video of my sister crying yesterday and told me that is what I did. Am I the asshole? You did the right thing, and it's honestly much better to be at your grandparents'. Your parents sound like total ass, especially with that bizarre behavior, like deleting your homework for no reason. Staying at your grandparents seems like the best option, so try to stay there as long as possible. When you turn 18, moving out and thriving will be the ultimate way to show them what they lost. Am I the jerk for telling my parents I don't want to go back to the way things were when my half-siblings lived with us? I had this fight with my parents the other night. My mother had been working on convincing her older children, who are my half-siblings, to come to our house for Christmas this year. When they were talking about it, they were telling me how nice it would be for things to go back to the way they were when my half-siblings lived here, and we were all together as a family. I told them I do not want to go back to the way things were back then, and that it actually sounded like a nightmare. My parents were so surprised I would say something like that. They told me it was hard to imagine I did not miss my older siblings. I told them it was never exactly happy when they were living here. To explain what I mean, my half-siblings are 24 years old and 22 years old. I am 17 years old male, and I have two younger sisters who are 14 years old and 12 years old. My mother and her ex-husband shared custody of my half-siblings, but they only wanted to live with their father. They never wanted a step-family, and they made sure they said it all the time. They hated my father, they hated me and my sisters. We were not a family, and mother should never have gotten married again. I was never under any illusion that my half-siblings actually loved me or that they were happy with us. They were around 13 and 15 years old when it got worse because they found out their father had been dating someone after he and mother divorced, and he broke up with the woman to get back together with mother. But she chose my father instead. That really angered them. They always made a point of saying my sisters and I were not their real siblings, that we had a different father, and that meant we were not actual siblings. They said siblings share both parents and not just one. They were corrected that half-siblings were still siblings, and they said no. They had to keep coming here until they were 18. Mother would not agree to let them live with their father. They did not get to have any influence when mother and her ex fought about custody in court, and they even told me they would make our lives miserable for every day they had to come here. I was so glad when my half-brother turned 18 and he stopped coming. I do not think I can explain how much happiness it brought. I do not miss them. I am not sad they are not here. After everything, I do not care about them any more than they care about me. But my parents love them. Even my father loves them, and they cannot say it more clearly how he is not ever going to be anything to them. My parents told me after I said what I did, that we are still a family, and I should leave room for them to grow. I should not look at only the bad from before. I asked them to share any happy or positive memories of them being in my life. I said I would accept just one. They could not answer. My parents told me I should be more open-minded and our family will never heal with my negativity. Am I the antagonist? You are not the problem. This is another case where the adults get together and automatically assume their kids will blend into one big, happy family. Forcing children who are victims of divorce to feel affection for their half-siblings is just not possible, and I really wish more parents understood that. Just living together in one house can be hard for some blended families. Trying to get everybody to love each other is just not within the realm of reality. Your parents telling you that your negativity will keep your family from healing is ludicrous. It is not up to you to heal anyone's family troubles. Am I the jerk for refusing to spend time with my partner's parent and their partner? My 25-year-old female boyfriend, 24-year-old male, and I have been together for 3 years now. I originally thought his mother, 59-year-old female, I will call her Mary, liked me, but ever since she initiated her divorce, there has always been tension when she is around. This all started around Christmas last year when Mary began fighting with my boyfriend's other mom, 63-year-old female, I will call her Jane. Mary insisted Jane has always been emotionally distant. My boyfriend and Mary started getting upset and excluding Jane from family time, blaming her for causing their marriage to fall apart. By February, they decided to separate and then divorce. It then came out that Mary fell in love with a woman who had rented out their house while the family was on vacation. This woman also divorced her spouse. Mary and her girlfriend are now living together, and the divorce has not actually started yet. My boyfriend is much closer to Mary than he is to Jane. When Mary rants about the latest inconvenience in the divorce, regardless of how valid Jane's concerns or demands are, he is very quick to defend her while refusing to speak to Jane at all. It is his own relationship with his parents, so I am not getting involved, but I am often shocked at the current dynamic. My boyfriend and I had an unrelated fight, and Mary took the opportunity to tell him how much she does not like me. She told him that I have too many needs and I quote, that I should find a proper job first and won't find anyone who will date me properly until Aita figured out how to have fewer needs. By needs, she is referring to the fact that I am not in contact with my parents and that I often need to send my sister money. I am also in a PhD program rather than working full-time, and I am actively in treatment for an autoimmune disease at the moment. I thought this was extremely weird because it is not like my boyfriend is involved in those problems. Additionally, she has developed this habit of asking me questions and then talking over me before I can answer. When she wants to have coffee with me, all she talks about is my boyfriend when he was a kid and when he was a baby. I just stopped hanging out with her because it felt more like she was initiating some kind of contest with me than building a relationship. My boyfriend told me that for Christmas this year, we will probably spend it with Mary's family, which is fine since Mary and I are cordial enough. However, I told him that if Mary's girlfriend is there, I will not be attending and that I will not attend any kind of event or dinner where she is present. I think it is too much emotional energy for me and not my business to get to know her, especially with the drama attached. Second, I feel like Mary has been incredibly unhinged lately. Am I the bad person for refusing to meet Mary's girlfriend? You did nothing improper by not wanting to be involved in their drama and by avoiding being treated poorly, but avoiding holidays won't necessarily fix this. Mary has already said she doesn't like you, and your BF is very close to his mom, who's actively trying to split you up. That's a massive red flag. He's clearly talking about you with her, and she's not supportive of your relationship. Given all that, what sort of future do you envision with your BF? Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.